Okay, now we're going to take a look at the syllabus and see some of the class assignments, discussion activities, and the things that you're going to be doing in the class. So let's go ahead and get started. So in the syllabus, of course, we're in Med 120, Survey of Medical Terminology, and it's an IO1, that's the section, it's an online section. And one of the things that you might want to keep in mind about this course is that it is a 2-credit course. That's probably why it was cheaper, a little bit cheaper than your regular 3-credit course. But it is a 2-credit course, and for some programs, this won't count fully as an elective. It might keep you in your financial aid to a certain degree if you have financial aid. But this course was typically designed, or originally designed, for EMS students. So you don't have to be an EMS student to take the course, but this is just an introductory, a survey course, not necessarily an introductory course. So it's a little bit easier, and it's just 2 credits. So keep that in mind when you're reviewing your program or trying to evaluate, your financial aid situation, if that applies. Just keep in mind it's 2 credits. Okay, so in this course you're going to be introduced to vocabulary, abbreviations, and symbols using the language of medicine, and it really is a breakdown of medical terminology. And we try to get you to look at terms critically and break them down so that you can find meaning in most terms that you have. Some of the objectives in the course: analyze component parts, spell medical terms. There is a little bit of spelling. I know that's not a lot of you don't have that as a strong suit, but it is somewhat of a requirement, because if you're going to put information into a legal document and a medical record, you should be able to properly spell the term that you're referring to. This will become more important as you progress into the introductory courses and anything with anatomy and physiology, for example. So I believe we talked already about the course text information. The course text is Stanfield, and we'll look back here again at the course text, the book information, and it is the 4th edition. Do not try to pass off the 3rd edition or go cheap on this, because this is the one you need, the 4th edition. Be sure you stick to it. You don't need the Navigate Course Manager, so you can save a little bit of money there, but you definitely want to have this newer version of the text. It isn't anything like the previous version. So you want to make sure that takes place. Performance expectations, the biggest thing again is going to be procrastination. Do not procrastinate. I can't emphasize it enough, but it happens every semester. You're going to have to do some work in the class. All right, it's not a freebie. All right, so you do have to do the work, but I'm going to give you a few tips on how you can succeed at doing the work if you're not inclined to do that much work. The lab and class rules. Now, we don't meet in a classroom face to face until the final exam. The final exam is a face-to-face exam. So you have to show up here at the college. You'll be face-to-face with me. You'll get to meet me. And the exam, as we're going to see, counts a larger portion of the grade than does any of the other work. So while you're here for the final exam, there are some rules to follow. And you have to understand that you don't want to be chit-chatting and having conversations and high-fiving and everything until after the exam, until after everyone is done, because it's a final exam. People are taking it seriously. They need that time to concentrate and focus. So we don't want to interrupt anybody in the classroom when they're trying to take a final exam. And that should apply to any other class as well. that you're taking face-to-face. No food or drinks are allowed in the labs at any time. Typically, if you have a drink or something like that, you can set it off to the table at the front door of the classroom. And cell phones. Cell phones are not part of the learning process. If you're taking the final exam, just turn it off. You just don't want the cell phone on at all when you're taking the final exam. So use the computers as you're supposed to. Response time, turnaround time. As I mentioned before, my response time is typically 24 hours. If you haven't heard anything from, usually I get it within an hour, so I'm constantly checking my email. But and I'm pretty responsive. If you haven't heard with me within a day or two, then either try to contact me again, or if it's really important, try to get me by phone. I'm usually very responsive. Contingency plan. You should always have a contingency plan. So if your computer blows up, something unexpected happens, there's always the learning lab is available, the library. You should have some sort of plan in place so that if you have issues at home, or a virus, maybe you get that ransomware or something comes across your desk, be sure that you have a plan in place to work around those situations. Academic honesty. So I don't expect that you're going to cheat. I mean, after all, you are college students, but it's inevitable. Some students have a tendency to think they can cheat anyway. Just know that in the classroom setting, at least, there are tools now in classrooms that can detect cheating, and we can control cheating quite a bit more than we used to in the past. So if you feel compelled to cheat, please don't cheat. This class is simple enough. It's easy enough that you're not going to have to cheat at all. But you do have to learn the information. And in the final exam, you want to be sure that you know going into the exam what's going to be on the exam and how it applies. So don't cheat, please. Email accounts. We use your email accounts. I'm very good with emails, so send me an email if you have questions. If you have special needs, if you're having difficulties with seeing the material or hearing this audio visual presentation, let me know first, and then I'll try to do what I can on my end to make sure that you have full accessibility to the material. And if you need additional time or something like that, you need accommodations, then let me know, or just go directly to Disability Support Services. Some of that information is here, and you have a link in Blackboard for help under that one. The attendance requirements. Now this one, I know we're going to have to update this. May 26th is right. The attendance requirements. Now this, we've got a lot of flack recently. You may have heard some of it in the news about attendance and how students are supposed to meet the requirements for attendance. Unfortunately, some students have a tendency to think that they don't have to do any work, or there's no such thing as attendance in an online course. But I'm here to tell you that there is attendance in an online course, and the first way that we take attendance is through the enrollment verification, and so that's very, very important, and it has to be done within a certain amount of time at the beginning of the semester. So if you go to Blackboard, we're back in Blackboard over here. The enrollment verification I'm placing in the weekly activities. So if we go to weekly activities in week 1, you're going to see the enrollment verification here, and it's highlighted. And this has to be done by the 26th. So May 26th. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's a Friday, May 26th, and it's during the first week of classes. So you don't have until Sunday to get that enrollment verification done. It's actually that Friday to get enrollment verification done. Now what I've done for the enrollment verification is I've put some points to it. So this is an easy first assignment that you can get done for points. Okay, so it's a quick and easy 10 points to do the enrollment verification by the 26th. Okay, so that should be simple enough. Beyond that, the next thing that you should understand is that you have to meet 80% completion of graded assignments. And if you don't, then you get an F for the course. And it could affect financial aid, the way they're tracking it nowadays. So let's say you have 3 assignments in a week. And what's going to happen is that for each assignment that you don't turn in, that counts as a takeaway from the amount of attendance, if you will. What it is completion of 80% of the coursework. So if you don't like the discussion questions, you can't choose to not do the discussion questions each week. I had a student that tried that before, and if you take that approach, you end up not completing 80% of the required coursework. So it's imperative that you do all of the coursework and submit it on time. So if you miss a bunch of work, you might want to take a close look and see if you're going to meet that 80% requirement. Because what could happen is that currently they've been doing audits, and they've found some issues about students that were not completing their entire course. So if they were to audit your course and you hadn't completed 80% of the coursework, they could take the course back and say that you didn't meet the requirements for the course. And if they did that, then the credits for that class wouldn't count towards your program, and it would be for naught. So not a good situation to be in. The best thing to do is to simply do the work. Okay, just do all the work that's required and get it done. I'll make it easy enough for you, and you won't have to, it won't be that hard, really. Makeup assignments. No such thing in this course. With 7 days to do the work that we have to get done, there's no makeup. So if you've decided, okay, well, I'm not going to do it this week, I'll just make it up, that's not going to happen. All right. Now I know things do happen, like I got in a car accident, or my mom's in the hospital, or whatever the case may be. But it goes back to the fact that there are 7 days to do the work. And this goes back to the procrastination piece. So if you didn't procrastinate, you did the work on, let's say, Monday or Tuesday, anything happens for the next 5 days, you're gonna be covered. So you should be fine. So it goes back to the procrastination. All right, let's take a look at the grading scale. The quizzes are 20% of the grade, and the class assignments, these are going to be individual assignments, and we'll look at that in Blackboard and not pretty soon. And then the discussion activities are 20% of the grade. The key here is that the final exam is 40% of the total grade. Now, a lot of students get a little bit confused about it because maybe they're doing very well throughout the class, throughout the semester. They've turned in all of their work. They've gotten 100% on everything, and then they get to the final exam and then blow it for whatever reason. Now, I don't think if you've done 100% on all the other stuff, there's no way you should blow the final exam. But the final exam is 40% of the grade. So if you didn't take the exam at all, you couldn't pass the class. Okay, so that's really the key behind the final exam being a higher grade. Plus, we want to see what your comprehension of the material is. Okay, so the quizzes are 20%, and for every 2 chapters, we're going to have a quiz. All right, up through chapter 20. Of course, there's 10 weeks in the semester, so each week there's going to be a quiz, starting with the first week. The final exam is going to be on the last couple of days, and we'll look at the schedule, and you'll see that there's only a couple of days. Usually I have a full week of giving exams, but being a short summer semester, you just don't have that opportunity. All right. The quizzes, you're supposed to take them within the week. All right. Once that Sunday night, midnight shuts off, that's it. Now, if you're in the middle, if you've decided to procrastinate for whatever reason, and you're in the middle of taking a test, a quiz, and it goes past or beyond midnight as you're taking it, let's say you started it at 11:55, and you finish it at 12:15. Well, whatever answers that you provided after midnight will not count. They'll be graded 0. So you want to get those quizzes done. Give yourself enough time to take the quizzes. Those quizzes are short, 25-question quizzes. They're not very difficult. Again, everything in here is pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Class assignments. This is each week you're going to get a class assignment. Each week you're going to get a discussion activity. And the class assignments are all at basically the end of the chapter work. Now, I'm going to give you a clue right here about the class assignments. The answers to the class assignments are in the back of the book. Okay? So if you find yourself pinched for time for whatever reason, you can go to the back of the book and look at the answers and just copy them down. Now, that's not a great strategy. I'm just telling you that that the answers are in the back of the book and that you can check your work against those answers. So easy points there. Class assignments. Do the work, check your answers, and then turn the work in. Now, the points that you get for the class assignments are for completing the work. All right? It's not that it's right or wrong, it's that you complete it fully. The reason that I don't check it all is because you already have the correct answers in the book, right? So be sure, that's the kind of grade you're going to get. You're going to get either the 10 points, the full 10 points for it, or you're going to get some subset of it. So if you completed only half of those class assignments, exercises, then you'll get half the credit. That's the way that goes. Now, the discussion activities. These are discussion. They're in a forum format. So, but they're really activities that you're going to post to a discussion board. And typically you're going to have to review the other students' posts to understand what's going on. Now, the key to the discussion activities is that you pay attention to the instructions for the activity. In most cases, you won't be allowed to copy another student's words. For example, let's go to an example. I'll take you into the activities for a moment, and I'll put it in a different view. So this isn't the view that you're going to see, but I'll take you down to one of the weeks that we're not here, that you don't see or have. Let's try a different one. I think that last one is week 16. Okay, so this is what your typical week might look like, and in this discussion activity 15, you'll see the discussion activity, and there will be a list of instructions, like place the combining form, not the word root, in the subject line of your post. Do not repeat another student's posted combining form. So there's a point value for each of these, and they all add up to 10 points. So if you click on the DA and this is previous students, so they're all listed as anonymous. You don't get to see who they are, but I'm going to show you some of this work. Now, the combining form, a combining form always has this slash and a combining vowel, so it's a word root and a combining vowel. So this student correctly put the combining form in the subject line. All right, so no other student should have that same combining form. This should all just be the one combining form. Usually there's a list of combining forms or terms that you're going to get to select from, and you have to use those terms. And typically those people that post first, like this person posted on the 24th, usually they're going to get the easiest ones. All right, so you have an incentive to do the work earlier, because you'll get the easiest combining forms than if you waited later in the week. So if you can't copy another student's combining form or use their form, you want to go ahead and get it done earlier. That's really all I can tell you about that. So that's part of the discussion activities, and you have to do them. So that's part of the thing. The contingency plan. I think we already covered contingency plans. No smoking on campus once you're here. Don't smoke on campus. There are some designated smoking areas. No children on campus. Okay. Here's the course schedule. Again, I posted that in Blackboard under the syllabus button, so for your convenience. And in the first week, we have the enrollment verification activities, etc. So next, I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the first steps, and we'll look at some of these time frames that are in the syllabus. Okay.